Hello again, and welcome back to Red Right Hand Forge. This is Marshall, and this is going to be a pretty quick video, just a tutorial on how I do my coffee etching. I've had a few questions, and I had a lot of questions about this when I first started out. Um, I have a blade here that it's already been etched in ferric chloride. And in fact, this blade was pretty much done. I really like this finish, and I'm very happy with it. Um, I really went back and forth when I was making it on whether or not I wanted to do a darker contrast, a coffee etch, or just leave it like this. I like both looks. So, you know, I got to this point, I was like, let's just run with it. I finished the handle, and this knife was done. It was in the books. But as I started kind of just handling it over the course of the past couple weeks, I realized that the handle was a little fat and I wasn't really getting a good index on it. And I decided I wanted to slim it down a little bit. And right now the handle's only been sanded up to about 400 grit, but I've got the shape I want now and it just feels much better in my hand. And I decided, since I'm already going to have to refinish this and go up to, I usually go up to about 1,000 grit when I'm sanding my hardwood handles, I might as well just go ahead and do that coffee etch because now I'm just super curious to see what it's going to look like. This is a twist pattern Damascus. I'll put a link up in the description or up on the screen here if you want to see how this Damascus billet was made. I don't actually have a tutorial or a blade build on this particular knife, but I do have the video for when I made the billet. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check it out. But yeah, we're just going to dunk this whole thing into a coffee etch, leave it in for about 24 hours. Anyway, you'll see how we do it. At first, I was a little concerned about how this would affect the wood, but a little bit of research tells me that the wood finishes out just fine. Worst case scenario, it's got a little bit of stain to it. I don't think that'll make it look bad. It might change it a little bit, but I'm not even sure that will happen. This is desert ironwood, and it's a really dense, kind of waxy wood, so it'll probably repel a lot of that uh, the darkening of the coffee. But we'll see. It'll be an experiment, and we'll kind of learn together. So anyway, let's get to it, and I'll show you how I go about my coffee etch process. Before we get started, the first thing we want to do is just wash this thing down. I just use dish soap for that. I don't like to use acetone for cleaning my blades. It just seems to leave a little bit of a residue. It's good if you really are trying to dissolve something. So if you know you have a buildup of some resin or some epoxy on there, acetone's great for that. But dish soap seems to work really well for cleaning your blades up before you put them in the etch. I should give a disclaimer. This is the coffee that I normally use. They didn't have this at the store, so I had to try something else. This looks pretty good. What we're looking for is basically this kind of the darkest crystalline form of coffee that you can get. And as you can see, I'm not holding back. I just want to make this as dark as I can possibly go. Probably a little bit of overkill. I probably could have gotten two blades out of that batch there, but whatever. Go big or go home, right? This is water that was just boiling. You really want this to be hot water. I don't know why, but I think it helps with adhesion. It helps get that etch in deeper, faster. So yeah, boil your water. Mix it all up. As you can see, I probably because I put so much in here, really having a hard time dissolving it. I add a little bit more water, and I'm trying to dissolve it, but ultimately I just kind of go with it, leaving some crystals still in their solid form. It's about as good as I can get it without starting over. Now, normally I wouldn't care much about getting the whole tang in there because I generally sand the blade, and generally I do this before I've put the handle on. So normally this step would be done before there are scales on it, but just like I said in the intro, I wanted to just see what happens here when I try to do this after I've got the scales on. And I want to make sure it's completely submerged because it is going to affect the color of the scales, and I don't want there to be a light spot on the back of my handle, even if I do sand around the edge of the tang. This is after it's been sitting for about 24 hours, and as you can see, it's gotten pretty dark. We're gonna put some baking soda on it just to neutralize the acid, clean it up a little bit,
take a look at it. Right away I could tell I didn't like what I saw. It seemed like there were some spots where it almost looked like some tarnishing was happening. So I'm going back to the drawing board here. Just sprayed a little WD-40 on here, and I'm lightly sanding it. This is just 1500 grit sandpaper. I'm not trying to change the finish of the blade, just trying to get at least the surface of that coffee etch out. At this point, I'm trying to figure out how bad that stained, tarnished look was. I don't really know why that happened. And most of it I've gotten off here. Those streaks that are going along there, that's probably just a little bit, I used a little bit of steel wool after I sanded it with sandpaper, and you can see the difference. That side I left alone. And it just looks tarnished and uneven, and I really don't like it. So now I'm just sanding it back down again. I don't feel like I have to get it all off. I just want to get through that kind of tarnished, stained look. And I am going to put it back in the ferric chloride. And again, this blade was etched with ferric chloride before it all started. So now I'm putting it back in again, and we're just going to, I guess, give it another go. Usually with the ferric chloride, I leave it in for about 7 to 10 minutes. This is just a baking soda solution to, again, neutralize the acid so it doesn't keep etching, and just kind of cleans it all up. After taking a little steel wool to it, and I actually used baking soda as an abrasive to kind of clean off the excess, you can see we have a problem here. Sorry about the camera angle, I forgot to turn my phone horizontal, but it looks like there's a reaction happening right where the liners meet up with the ricasso there. We've got this black chemical reaction. I don't know if it's the epoxy, which was dyed black, or if it's the liner itself, or if it's the wood. I really don't know. But as you can see here, I've made a paste out of the baking soda, and I'm trying to just really cram it into that seam, hoping that it would clean it up, but it's not. And every time I take it back to the faucet, it's almost like underneath my liner there's an ongoing chemical reaction process happening, and it's pushing out this black ooze. I'm using a little Renaissance wax here to try and clean it up. In addition to that gross connection point there, I'm not sure if you can see from this angle, but there are also like what appears to be hard water stains along the flat face of the blade on either side. That's just unsatisfactory. I'm not really sure why that happened. The blade it came out of the water, and it was maybe 30 seconds before I started wiping it all down, so I don't know how. I mean, it almost looks like calcium or lime deposits on there, and Renaissance wax is usually pretty good about getting little stains off of your blade. It kind of has a solvent built into it. It's a crystalline kind of consistency, but as you can see, I've got these like big water spots on it. This is just really going from bad to worse. I think at this point I'm kind of throwing the whole coffee etch out the window and just deciding if I can even salvage this blade with a handle on it, or if I have to take the handle off completely, which is really frustrating because I loved this handle, and I've got stainless steel pins in there and everything fit up so nicely, and I was just very happy with the look of that. But this isn't going to fly. Just to show you all that I can actually do a coffee etch, and to show you and give you an idea of the outcome I was looking for, this is another blade I did recently. And as you can see, it's just beautiful contrast. You know, nothing's perfect with these things. I mean, when we're dealing with steel, with blending steel like that, you are going to see some lighter and darker spots, but nothing like what we have here, or what we had when I took it out of the etch, where it just looked like blotchy stains all over it. So obviously this is far away from what I was going for, and it's very frustrating. I think I've decided now that I'm, you know, you can see that it's almost like sulfur deposits on there, like on a battery terminal, but I'm not going to let that go. I'll take this handle off. I'll put it in the oven, in my heat treat oven, at a very low temperature, maybe 200 degrees. You know, nothing that's going to affect the heat treat, but that'll melt the epoxy. I'll get that handle off, and I'll make a new handle. And then I'll decide whether or not I want to etch it again at, you know, with just the ferric chloride, or if I want to go into a coffee etch before I put the new handle on. And this channel is all about learning, and I'm learning as I go too. So there are definitely a lot of good lessons to take away from this debacle. I don't think I will try to do a ferric chloride or a coffee etch after I've put scales on. I have seen other bladesmiths do it. To what level of success, I really can't say, because I don't remember seeing them zoom in completely or show a real close-up of a finished product. But there are so many variables. Maybe it does work in some circumstances, but between the dye in the epoxy and the material that the liner's made out of and the wood itself, I guess there's just a lot of things that can happen when you're dealing with these kinds of chemical processes. So for me, I think I'll just take the safe road. I'll make sure I have the blade finished exactly how I like it before I put scales on in the future. Another thing is I won't use that coffee again. I'm not sure if that was the problem, but I'll just stay on the safe side. I'll use the kind that I always use. I know that it works, and I don't think I need to pour so much that it's impossible to dissolve. Although in the past I have used the entire bottle of that other cheap stuff, but I don't remember it being, you know, there being a residue left in the liquid. It was all pretty much liquefied before, so I'm not sure if that was part of the problem or not. Maybe some of those little coffee grounds got stuck on the blade as it was sitting in there overnight, and maybe those created darker spots versus the lighter spots. I really don't know. So yeah, just definitely a lot of things I would do differently, and I will do differently the next time I do a coffee etch. And as for this blade, I'll be sure to do an update video whenever this makes it into its final form, just so, you know, anybody who's curious, they can see what it looks like when it's all done. Because this looks like crap, and and I don't like it. Alright, I guess that's it for today. Sorry it wasn't a happier ending. If you have any questions or comments, just put them down below and I'll definitely get back to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.